This is Dr. James. I guess if people can make videos in the pickup line for their kids, I can make a video in the parking lot waiting for my kid to get done with baseball practice. So I was asked the question about traveling with babies and how to do that safely and how to do that best. And, it's a complicated question because a lot of it depends on how you're traveling, how long you're going to travel, how old your baby is. I really don't recommend travel in airplanes or public transportation until after babies are 2 months old. And the reason is that these babies are just fragile and it's much easier for them to get sick. And these ventilation systems, as it circulates, there's not great filtration and it's just easier for them to get sick. So I don't recommend travel for long periods of time, except, possibly in your car until after they're 2 months old. Between 2 and 6 months, I think babies are easier to travel with when you're doing long haul traveling, just because they sleep a lot. They're not mobile yet, so they're not going to be fighting you to be constantly on the move. They're pretty used to having them in your lap or being in their car seats and, not having just a lot of just entertainment that they got to be going full time. The thing with that is just to make sure that you have everything you need when you're traveling, especially if you're going to foreign countries. You need to make sure in some countries, if they don't have safe water, that you're traveling with water. If you're going to be doing formula, that you're traveling with your formula. Got to be careful how you pack this. It's not going to go through some of the security, so it has to go through like in your suitcases. So you got to be careful with that. And the biggest thing when traveling with these small children is just making sure that you're regularly checking their diapers so they're not sitting in wet or dirty diapers and getting really bad diaper rashes, and just constantly just making sure that everything's okay, that, that their positioning is okay in their car seat, that nothing's obstructing their airway. And so you just have to be careful with that. Once they start getting mobile, traveling becomes a real pain, especially once they learn to crawl. These kids are going to fight you because they want to be moving all the time. And so it's a lot harder to travel. I think probably a 9-month-old is one of the hardest kids to travel with. If you're flying, one of the most traumatic things with flying with a small child is the takeoff and landing when the pressure is changing and their ears need to pop and they don't know how to pop their ears. And so there's lots of screaming. A couple things that I recommend is making sure they're hungry as you're getting ready to take off. And then when the buildings all get really, really tiny, start your baby feeding. The movement of their jaw while they're eating can help their ears to pop so they won't scream. It's a little harder for you to time that with landing, but at least when they're landing and they're screaming, it's for a shorter period of time than them screaming the entire flight. So, I would be prepared for that. Having traveled with one baby that was a spitter, make sure you have lots of extra clothes for the baby and some extra shirts or a pair of shorts for you, because I bought several shirts in airports traveling with my oldest child, because walking out of airplanes just covered in vomit and trying to get to the nearest little store so I could buy a new shirt. So thinking ahead, like I didn't, having definitely extra clothes and spit up rags and things for the baby, but also having an extra set or two of shirts and maybe some shorts to, change into if you decide to just get vomited all over. Those are the biggest things. There's no great way. Every trip you take is a lot like packing for 3 or 4 vacations. It's just hard. But the important thing is make sure you're checking on them regularly. Make sure that you're changing their diapers frequently. And make sure you just have all those supplies, because once you're in the air in an airplane for a long flight, it's not like you can stop and get some formula or things like that. So that would be, my best advice.